In 2025, the global wealth landscape is shifting, and quietly, so is the world of high-value gemstones. While gold dominates headlines and diamonds remain the public face of luxury, the smartest money in the gemstone market is flowing somewhere else entirely, into stones so rare, so tightly held, and so insulated from mass market exposure that most people will never see one in person. These aren't fashion trends or retail launches. They're strategic acquisitions, selected by top gem advisors, portfolio managers, and private dealers for one reason: scarcity that can't be manufactured, manipulated, or mined at scale. Some of these gems are measured in grams of annual production. Others exist in colors and qualities that major laboratories certify only a handful of times each year. All of them have one thing in common: they sit in vaults, private collections, and family offices, often for decades, with no intention of hitting the open market. Over the next few minutes, we'll track the 10 gemstones that, in 2025, are being quietly stockpiled by those who understand how wealth preservation works when you're playing in the upper 1/10 of 1%. This isn't about chasing trends. It's about identifying the assets that will still matter when the rest of the market moves on. Number 10, Spinel, the quiet asset gaining ground. For centuries, Spinel was the misnamed stone of the gem world. It adorned royal crowns and ceremonial regalia, but was labeled as a ruby. Only in the 18th century did mineralogical science confirm that Spinel is its distinct mineral, a magnesium aluminum oxide with a crystal structure unlike corundum. Geologically, Spinel forms in contact metamorphic deposits rich in calcium and magnesium. The vivid reds from Mogok, Myanmar, and the pinkish violet tones from Mahenge, Tanzania, represent the pinnacle of quality, offering naturally saturated color and exceptional clarity. With no heat treatment and no artificial enhancement, Spinel retains its original mineral integrity from mine to finished jewelry. The reason it's being stockpiled in 2025 goes beyond beauty. Asset specialists see parallels with Kashmir sapphire and Burmese ruby. Top-quality natural supply is dwindling, while collector demand is surging in the US, Japan, and the Middle East. Two factors drive this shift in preference. Spinel has minimal exposure to the treated gem market, as most investment-grade material is entirely natural. Its historical value is being redefined as museums and auction houses now promote Spinel as a sovereign royal gem, no longer the ruby substitute. The 2025 market recorded an average price increase of 12 to 15% for Spinel over 3 carats, in pure red or slightly pinkish red tones with high clarity. Mogok origin stones reached $18,000 to $25,000 per carat, far exceeding their value a decade ago. Mahenge Spinels with neon pink saturation also saw steady gains, particularly in the 2 to 5 carat range. Key accumulation regions include Hong Kong and Singapore, trade houses stockpile for multi-generational family collections, New York and Geneva, auction platforms setting new records for large stones, Dubai, selective buying of ultra-high-grade stones as intergenerational wealth assets. Outlook 2026 to 2030. Prices are expected to climb as Mogok production becomes increasingly complex and Mahenge output declines. However, the market will reward only those stones with verifiable provenance and investment-grade color. From an appraisal standpoint, Spinel in 2025 is at the same stage ruby was 30 years ago. Not yet at its peak, but already recognized by strategic investors as the red gold of a new generation. And inside the most discreet vaults, Spinel is quietly taking the place once reserved for the rarest rubies. Number 9. Demantoid Garnet, quietly stockpiled by top gem advisors. Among garnets, few command the kind of respect that Demantoid does. First discovered in Russia's Ural Mountains in the mid-19th century, its name, derived from the French word for diamond, reflects its exceptional dispersion. This light performance can exceed that of a diamond. In fine stones, that fiery brilliance is paired with a vivid green hue, ranging from warm golden green to the highly coveted deep forest tone. Geologically, Demantoid is a chromium and iron-bearing variety of andradite garnet formed in serpentinite-hosted deposits. Russia's Ural Mountains remain the benchmark source, producing stones with rare horsetail inclusions, radiating chrysotile fibers that serve as a natural fingerprint of origin. Namibia is the other notable source, offering cleaner stones in a slightly cooler green. Why it's being accumulated in 2025 has less to do with marketing and more to do with hard supply math. Ural output has become sporadic, with politically driven export constraints reducing availability on the open market. Namibia's mines can provide quantity, but stones over 2 carats with top saturation remain extremely rare. For high net worth clients, the scarcity is amplified by the fact that most fine Demantoid is already locked in private collections and rarely re-enters the market. 2025 market data shows a 10 to 14% price rise for Russian stones over 1.5 carats, with investment-grade specimens exceeding $12,000 per carat. Namibian stones of comparable size trade slightly lower, at $7,000 to $9,500 per carat, but are increasingly sought for their clarity and size. Primary stockpiling hubs, Geneva and London, heritage jewelry dealers acquiring Russian origin stones with full provenance, Tokyo, high-end retail and private advisory firms purchasing matched pairs for investment-grade jewelry, Middle East, selective buying of large Namibian stones for bespoke high jewelry projects. Outlook 2026 to 2030. Expect upward pressure on prices if Russian exports remain inconsistent. Namibia may stabilize mid-market supply, but collector-level material, Russian stones over 2 carats with documented horsetail inclusions, is positioned to appreciate faster than inflation, acting as a niche hedge within the colored gemstone asset class. From an appraiser's view, Demantoid Garnet's current trajectory is defined not by hype, but by attrition. Every year, fewer top-grade stones are available for trade, and those that are find their way into long-term holdings. For the advisors managing generational wealth portfolios, Demantoid remains one of the few green assets where scarcity is not a prediction. It's the present reality. Number 8. Blue Garnet, the invisible gem bought before it's seen. In the world of colored gemstones, few remain so elusive that investors commit funds before the stone even surfaces. Blue Garnet is one of them. First recognized in the 1990s in Beckley, Madagascar, it stunned the gem world with an optical shift so dramatic it seemed improbable. Under daylight, a cool bluish green; under incandescent light, a rich purplish red. Geologically, blue garnet is a vanadium-rich variety of pyrospessartine garnet, forming in high-grade metamorphic environments where rare element chemistry aligns perfectly. Commercial production has been recorded in only a handful of locations: Madagascar, Tanzania, Sri Lanka, and in minuscule quantities, the United States. Most deposits produce crystals too small for fine jewelry, making large, clean stones exceptionally rare. Why it's purchased sight unseen in 2025 comes down to 2 converging realities. First, global supply is so thin that most stones of significance are traded privately between dealers and long-term clients before they ever hit a public auction. Second, the collector market has matured to the point where provenance and size dictate instant acquisition. Any stone above 2 carats with a substantial, balanced color shift is considered an automatic buy for investment portfolios. Market performance in 2025 shows prices climbing 15 to 20% year-on-year for stones over 1.5 carats, with top-grade examples surpassing $35,000 per carat. Smaller stones, under 1 carat but with substantial shift and high clarity, still command $5,000 to $8,000 per carat, mainly due to scarcity. Key accumulation centers: Hong Kong and Singapore. Private wealth clients securing stones through trusted gem brokers. New York. Bespoke jewelers acquiring on commission for investment-grade creations. Zurich and Dubai. Ultra-high net worth buyers seeking diversification into ultra-rare assets. Outlook 2026 to 2030. Without new deposits, the market will likely continue its invisible cycle. Stones change hands before the public is aware they were available. Any significant find could temporarily stabilize prices, but the absence of significant discoveries in the last 2 decades suggests that upward pressure is the more probable trend. From an appraiser's standpoint, Blue Garnet's investment profile is unique. Liquidity is high within its narrow network, yet virtually non-existent for the general market. It is a gem that moves in the shadows, and for those who can access it, ownership begins not when you see the stone, but the moment you hear it exists. Number 7. Imperial Jadeite, the green asset that defies control. In the hierarchy of green gemstones, Imperial Jadeite stands apart, not just for its beauty, but for the closed nature of its market. This is the purest, most saturated, and most translucent form of jadeite, mined almost exclusively in northern Myanmar's Kachin state. Its color, an even vivid emerald green with fine texture and glassy translucency, is unmatched by any other gem material. Geologically, jadeite forms under high-pressure metamorphic conditions in subduction zones, often within serpentinite or albite-rich host rocks. Imperial quality occurs in only a fraction of the jadeite extracted, and the probability of finding stones large enough for top-tier jewelry is vanishingly small. Why it's beyond control in 2025 has little to do with mining output and everything to do with how the market is managed. For decades, Myanmar's jade trade has been concentrated in a few closed auctions and private deals, dominated by select buying groups in Hong Kong, Guangzhou, and Bangkok. Transactions for the highest grade are almost entirely off record, with pieces moving from mine to cutting workshop to private vault without ever entering public inventory. Market reality in 2025 shows prices for top-grade Imperial Jadeite cabochons over 20 millimeters, rising 18 to 22% year-on-year, reaching $40,000 to $60,000 per carat in matched pairs or uniform bangles. Smaller but equally fine quality stones still command $8,000 to $15,000 per carat. Supply is further constrained by Myanmar's fluctuating export policies, which can halt official trade for months at a time. Key stockpiling hubs: Hong Kong, long-term holding by multi-generational jade trading families. Guangzhou, discreet private auctions targeting high-net-worth collectors in China's Tier 1 cities. Singapore and Bangkok, boutique investment houses sourcing for clients seeking culturally significant assets. Outlook 2026 to 2030, the trajectory depends less on geological availability and more on political, cultural, and intermarket agreements. As China's ultra-wealthy segment continues to favor jadeite for both personal and generational wealth transfer, liquidity for top-grade stones will remain high, but only within a tightly guarded network. From an appraiser's standpoint, Imperial Jadeite's defining feature as an asset is not its rarity alone, but the gatekeeping that surrounds it. This is a market where control is currency. For investors, entry requires more than capital. It demands relationships, reputation, and acceptance into circles where the green is measured not by weight, but by trust. Number 6. Alexandrite, the shape-shifting asset in a static system. Alexandrite occupies a rare space in the gemstone world, both scientifically fascinating and strategically undervalued by those who underestimate its scarcity. Discovered in Russia's Ural Mountains in the 1830s and named for the future Tsar Alexander II, it became a symbol of elite status in Imperial Russia. Its defining characteristic, a dramatic color shift from green in daylight to red under incandescent light, is not just aesthetic. It's a measurable optical phenomenon caused by trace chromium in a chrysoberyl crystal lattice. Geologically, Alexandrite forms under precise conditions where beryllium-rich fluids meet chromium-bearing host rocks, a combination so rare that commercially viable deposits have been documented in only a handful of countries: Russia, Brazil, Sri Lanka, India, and in smaller yields, Tanzania and Madagascar. Most crystals are small, fine quality stones above 2 carats are exceptional, and anything over 5 carats enters the category of global rarity. Why it's thriving in 2025's otherwise static investment system comes down to its unique dual demand. The gemstone appeals to both traditional collectors, who value its historical prestige and limited production, and modern investors seeking assets with physical properties that can't be replicated synthetically at scale without detection. In a market where other colored stones are stabilizing or cooling, Alexandrite's cross-sector demand keeps liquidity active. 2025 market data shows an 11 to 15% increase in price for stones above 1.5 carats with vivid color change, 80% or more, reaching $20,000 to $35,000 per carat for Russian or Brazilian origin stones. Sri Lankan stones trade slightly lower, but remain in strong demand due to their size range and cleaner crystal structure. Key accumulation hubs: Tokyo, luxury jewelers securing investment-grade stones for long-term clientele. Geneva, private wealth advisors acquiring Russian origin stones with documented provenance. New York, high jewelry houses holding large Brazilian stones for bespoke commissions. Outlook 2026 to 2030. Unless new primary deposits are discovered, an increasingly unlikely scenario, Alexandrite will remain insulated from the price volatility seen in other colored stones. Its dual identity appeal ensures it retains both cultural prestige and financial credibility, making it one of the few gems capable of outperforming in stagnant or even contracting luxury markets. From an appraiser's standpoint, Alexandrite's advantage is structural. In an investment system that often favors predictable, single-market demand, this gem's ability to shift, both in color and in buyer profile, makes it resistant to the stagnation that slows other assets. It's not just a color change stone, it's a market change stone. Number 5, Unheated Burmese Ruby, the red standard behind closed vaults. In the hierarchy of colored gemstones, the unheated Burmese ruby holds a position as close to a currency standard as the industry allows. These stones, sourced from Myanmar's Mogok and Mongsu regions, are valued not only for their vivid pigeon's blood hue, but also for the absence of heat treatment. This rarity sharply narrows available supply. Geologically, rubies are corundum, colored by chromium, formed in marble-hosted deposits under low-iron conditions. This chemistry produces a pure, fluorescent red, unmatched by most rubies from other origins. The Mogok Valley has yielded fine rubies for centuries, but large inclusion-free stones remain extraordinarily scarce. Mongsu rubies, often heat-treated to improve color, are a separate market tier. In the investment-grade category, only unheated stones with gemological certification from top laboratories command premium status. Why it remains behind closed vaults in 2025 comes down to controlled circulation. The highest grades rarely appear at public auction. Instead, they move privately between collectors, wealth advisors, and select jewelry houses, often without any public record of the transaction. These rubies are not purchased for quick resale. They are held as long-term wealth preservation assets, particularly in Asian markets where red holds cultural significance as a symbol of prosperity and power. Market data in 2025 shows prices for unheated Burmese rubies above 5 carats rising 20 to 25% year-on-year, with top stones exceeding $100,000 per carat. Even commercial sizes of 2 to 3 carats with excellent color and clarity regularly achieve $30,000 to $50,000 per carat. Demand is strongest in Hong Kong, Singapore, and Geneva, with New York and London following closely for high jewelry applications. Key accumulation centers: Hong Kong, private family vaults, and generational wealth portfolios. Geneva, discreet transactions during major jewelry exhibitions. Bangkok, specialized dealers handling certified Mogok stones for international clients. Outlook 2026 to 2030. With Myanmar's political instability and tightening trade restrictions, the number of unheated stones entering the market is likely to shrink further. This will favor existing holders, whose assets may appreciate significantly in the absence of new supply. From an appraiser's standpoint, the unheated Burmese ruby's investment profile is not about speculation, it's about sovereignty. It is a red standard, traded quietly, stored securely, and recognized instantly among those who understand that in the gemstone market, purity of origin and absence of treatment are the twin pillars of enduring value. Number 4, Kashmir Sapphire, the invisible gem bought before it's seen. High in the Himalayas on the rugged slopes of Kashmir's Zanskar Range lies one of the most fabled gemstone sources in human history. The Kashmir Sapphire Mine, discovered by chance in the late 1870s after a landslide exposed glittering blue crystals, would operate for only a few short decades. Yet in that brief window, it produced stones so unique, so saturated with velvety royal blue, that their reputation still dominates the sapphire trade nearly 150 years later. Geographically, the deposit sat at nearly 4,500 meters above sea level. For miners of the 19th century, reaching the site was a feat of endurance. Supplies had to be carried on foot or by pack animals through snow-covered passes. Mining was primitive. Shallow pits dug into the earth, rubble broken apart by hand, and crystals extracted with rudimentary tools. Unlike modern mechanized mines, Kashmir sapphires emerged from a landscape where geology and human determination collided in extreme conditions. By the 1930s, the primary veins were exhausted, and the legendary mine fell silent. No new Kashmir sapphires of importance have been mined since. What made these stones so revered was their color. Described as cornflower blue, Kashmir sapphires carry a soft, velvety tone caused by microscopic inclusions of rutile silk. Unlike the sharp brilliance of Ceylon or the darker tones of Burma, Kashmir sapphires glow with an internal light, rich but never harsh. This velvety blue remains the gold standard by which all other sapphires are judged. In terms of gem shapes, most Kashmir sapphires were cut into ovals and cushions, maximizing weight while enhancing the saturation of color. The stones were rarely large, with fine gems often under 5 carats, yet even modest sizes commanded extraordinary value. A 1-carat Kashmir sapphire in fine condition could fetch tens of thousands of dollars, while larger stones, 5 carats and above, are now auctioned for hundreds of thousands, sometimes over $1 million per carat. In modern jewelry, a ring with a 2-carat Kashmir sapphire of top quality may easily exceed $500,000. The allure was never just geological, it was also cultural. British officers stationed in India during the colonial period carried these stones back to Europe, where they were quickly recognized as unparalleled. Royals and collectors scrambled to secure them, cementing their status as the pinnacle of blue sapphires. Today, museums and private collections guard them with the same reverence reserved for historical diamonds. From the perspective of an archaeological journalist, the Kashmir sapphire represents a paradox. The mine itself is nearly forgotten in the mountains, reclaimed by snow and silence. Yet the stones that left those peaks continue to shape global perceptions of beauty and value. They embody a moment when geography, history, and geology intersected. A single valley producing a legacy that the world still treasures. For investors and collectors in 2025, a Kashmir sapphire is not simply a gemstone. It is a fragment of history, a finite relic of the Himalayas, and one of the few stones where price is measured not just in carats, but in centuries. Number 3, Padparadscha sapphire, the sunset asset with no market clock. Among all fancy-colored sapphires, none commands a blend of rarity, romance, and valuation complexity like the Padparadscha. Named from the Sinhalese term for lotus blossom, its delicate balance of pink and orange tones has made it one of the most contested color definitions in the gem trade. Geologically, Padparadscha sapphires are corundum crystals colored by trace chromium, pink, and iron orange, formed under specific temperature and pressure ranges that yield this singular hue. The highest quality stones originate from Sri Lanka, with minor but notable production from Madagascar and Tanzania. However, only a fraction meets the strict color parameters accepted by major gemological laboratories, eliminating the vast majority from serious investment consideration. Why it's the sunset asset with no market clock in 2025 lies in its transaction behavior. Unlike commodities that track predictable cycles, Padparadscha sales occur irregularly, dictated by availability rather than market timing. Top stones may vanish from public trade for years, reappearing only when an owner decides to sell, often without regard to broader market conditions. This makes price forecasting unusually difficult and supply events entirely opportunistic. 2025 market data shows fine unheated Sri Lankan stones above 2 carats achieving $20,000 to $30,000 per carat, while rarities above 5 carats exceed $50,000 per carat. Madagascan stones with optimal color balance trade 20 to 30% lower, but remain strong performers due to their size availability and cleaner crystal structure. Acquisition hubs, Colombo. Direct from source purchases for collectors with immediate liquidity. Geneva. Discreet brokered sales to European and Middle Eastern clients. Tokyo. High jewelry houses holding stones for multi-year design cycles. Outlook 2026 to 2030. With demand driven more by aesthetics than by speculative cycles, Padparadscha pricing will likely maintain a slow, upward trend, insulated from the volatility affecting more commoditized gemstones. Because supply hinges on a rare geological coincidence rather than scalable mining, replacement of sold inventory is neither fast nor guaranteed. From an appraiser's standpoint, the Padparadscha Sapphire operates outside conventional timing. It doesn't rise or fall with gold, stock indices, or even other sapphires. Instead, it exists in a market where availability is the only clock that matters. And when the right stone surfaces, buyers act as if sunset lasts only a moment. Number 2, Grandidierite, the asset no algorithm understands. In the age of algorithmic trading and AI-driven market prediction, most commodities can be modeled, charted, and forecast. Grandidierite resists all of it. This bluish-green borosilicate, first discovered in southern Madagascar in 1902, remains one of the rarest gem minerals ever identified. Not because it's geologically absent, but because transparent, faceable material is rarely found in commercial quantity. Geologically, grandidierite forms in pegmatitic metamorphic environments alongside minerals like cordierite and tourmaline. Its distinctive color comes from trace iron, with chromium or vanadium occasionally deepening the saturation. The challenge is not extraction. It's the fact that most crystals are opaque or heavily included, unsuitable for fine jewelry or investment. Less than 1% of mined material meets gem quality. Why it's the asset no algorithm understands in 2025 is rooted in market behavior. Supply events are so sporadic and minor that even advanced AI market models fail to build predictive datasets. One discovery in southern Madagascar or Sri Lanka can double annual global output overnight, but those finds vanish just as quickly. Prices fluctuate in ways that defy standard supply-demand logic, because transactions are often between specialist dealers and a closed circle of collectors who treat the gem more like a trophy than an investment instrument. 2025 market data places top-grade, eye-clean stones over 2 carats at $15,000 to $20,000 per carat, with exceptional specimens above 5 carats breaking $40,000 per carat. Unlike diamonds or sapphires, there is no standardized price index. Each sale is a case study in rarity, provenance, and buyer appetite. Acquisition centers. Antananarivo, source country deals before export. Bangkok, processing and quiet placement into Southeast Asian private collections. Geneva, brokered introductions to ultra-high net worth buyers seeking portfolio diversification outside tracked commodities. Outlook 2026 to 2030. Grandidierite's value path will remain irregular. It will not follow gold's chart, sapphire's demand curve, or diamond's marketing cycles. Its volatility makes it unsuitable for algorithm-driven investment funds, but ideal for private wealth holders who prioritize uniqueness over liquidity. From an appraiser's perspective, Grandidierite is the definition of a nonlinear asset. No index follows it, no predictive model controls it, and no market trend dictates its timing. In a world where every other investment can be forecast to the decimal, this is the one gemstone that remains entirely outside the algorithm's reach. And for some collectors, that unpredictability is precisely the point. Number 1. Musgravite, the top gemstone on this list. Discovered in 1967 in the remote Musgrave Ranges of South Australia, Musgravite has since been found in only a handful of locations: Madagascar, Greenland, Antarctica, and a few isolated deposits in Tanzania and Sri Lanka. Even in the gem world, it remains a whispered name, known primarily among elite dealers and collectors. Geologically, Musgravite belongs to the taphate mineral group, sharing structural similarities with Spinel, but distinguished by trace beryllium content. Its color palette ranges from grayish-green to violet-gray, with the finest stones exhibiting an almost smoky lavender. This tone resists easy categorization and has no direct competitor in high jewelry. Why it's the #1 gemstone experts are stockpiling in 2025 comes down to pure supply mathematics. Fewer than 10 faceable stones over 5 carats enter the global market in a typical year, and often that number is closer to 3. There is no industrial application, no large-scale mining, and no forecastable production curve. Every transaction is an event, and every event is private. 2025 market data puts investment-grade stones above 2 carats at $35,000 to $50,000 per carat, with exceptional examples crossing $100,000 per carat. In this tier, buyers are less concerned with per-carat price fluctuations and more focused on securing ownership before another collector does. Acquisition channels: Hong Kong and Geneva, discrete brokered trades among UH&W collectors. Antananarivo, source-level purchases before stones are exported or certified. Private dealer networks, where stones change hands without ever being listed publicly. Why stockpiling makes sense now? The market for musgravite is immune to short-term macroeconomic swings because it has no speculative overhang. It's too rare to be manipulated, too opaque to be indexed, and too scarce to flood. Every stone removed from circulation has an outsized impact on future supply, which is why leading gem advisors recommend holding, not flipping, when an acquisition opportunity arises. Outlook 2026 to 2030. With no significant discoveries expected and artisanal mining output declining in Madagascar, scarcity will tighten further. Musgravite will likely remain less a gemstone market participant and more a private reserve currency within the gemstone world. A discrete store of value for those who measure wealth not in liquidity, but in ownership of the unreplaceable. From an appraiser's standpoint, musgravite is the terminal end of gemstone rarity. You can own gold, diamonds, or sapphires alongside millions of others. But musgravite, in the investment-grade category, the global ownership pool is smaller than a private club, and in 2025, the insiders are locking their doors. In high-value gemstone investment, public visibility often works against long-term performance. The stones on this list don't rely on marketing campaigns or seasonal demand. They rely on something much more challenging to replicate: geological improbability and collector discipline. By 2025, the pattern is clear. The more opaque the market, the stronger the price protection. The less a gem is traded, the less it is exposed to speculative cycles. And when availability drops below a certain threshold, it stops behaving like a commodity entirely and starts functioning like a private reserve asset. For those already holding these stones, the strategy is patience. For those looking to acquire, timing matters less than access. Because in this segment of the market, opportunities are not scheduled. They are negotiated privately between parties who understand that what's rare is rarely offered twice. In the years ahead, gold may keep its shine, stocks may rise and fall, but the quiet value inside the world's most closely guarded vaults will belong to the few who secured assets that can't be replaced. And in 2025, these 10 gemstones lead that list.